Hello everyone, welcome to another lesson. Welcome to the sixth video in this series. So we are focusing on case 6 that deals with equation containing brackets, right? Still on solving equation. Remember to check the description for the previous 5 cases. So let's look at some example. So example 1, we are given 2 times 3x minus 5 equal 8. How would you go about solving a question like this? We'll solve a question like this by first removing the bracket. How can we remove the bracket? By applying the distributive law, right? What does the distributive law state? That whatever quantity that is directly outside of the bracket, we should use it to multiply each term inside of the bracket. That is what these arrows are suggesting, right? So step 1, we're going to apply the distributive law. How would you represent this? You would represent this as 2 times 3x plus 2 times negative 5 equal 8. Note that the bracket implies multiplication, so there is no need for the multiplication sign. All right? At this stage, what are we going to do? We're going to simplify. So note that 2 times 3x will give us 6x, and 2 times negative 5 will give us a negative 10, and we put back our equal 8. So what are we going to do at this stage? Note that we have constant term on both sides, so we want the constant to be on one side of the equal sign. So therefore, we're going to transfer this negative 10 over to where positive 8 is, and we can do that by adding 10 to both sides. How would you represent this? You would represent this as 6x minus 10 plus 10 equal 8 plus 10. At this stage, what are you going to do? You are going to simplify. So note here that negative 10 plus 10 is 0, and 0 plus 6x will give us 6x. And 8 plus 10 is just 18. What are we going to do at this stage? Note that the x is being multiplied by 6. So we want to transfer this 6 over to where 18 is. How can we do that? We can do that by doing the opposite of multiplying by 6, which is to divide both sides by 6. How are you going to represent this? You will represent this as 6x all over 6 equal to 18 all over 6. At this stage, you're going to simplify, and that will give you your result. So here, 6x over 6 is just x, and 18 over 6 is just 3. So therefore, x is equal to 3. Let's look at our second example. We are now given 6y equal 2y minus bracket y minus 4. How would you go about doing this problem? Again, you are going to apply the distributive law. Note, there is no number here multiplying each term in the bracket, but you have this negative sign multiplying each term. So you are going to distribute this negative sign to each term inside of the bracket. And what it will do is to change the sign of each term inside of the bracket. So you're going to apply the distributive law, right? When you apply the distributive law, note here that when you take this negative sign to multiply a positive y, it will result in a negative y. And when you take this negative sign to multiply a negative 4, it will result in a positive 4. At this stage, what are you going to do? Note that you have y terms on both sides, but on the right-hand side here, we have 2 y terms. That means we can simplify and combine those into one single y term. So if we simplify, all we'll get, note here that 2y minus y will just give us y. So we'll end up with 6y equal y plus 4. At this stage, what are we going to do? We're going to group the y term on the left-hand side, which means that this positive y is our focus. How can we transfer this positive y over to where 6y is? We can do that by doing the opposite, which is to subtract y from both sides. How would you represent this? You would represent this as 6y minus y equal y minus y plus 4. At this stage, what are you going to do? You are going to simplify. So note that 6y minus y will give you 5y. And y minus y is just 0. And 0 plus 4 is 4. So what you will have is just 5y equal 4. How can you get y by itself? By doing the opposite of multiplying by 5, which is to divide. Divide both sides by 5. How would you represent this? You would represent this as 5y all over 5 is equal to 4 all over 5. At this stage, you're going to simplify, and that will give you your result. So note that 5y over 5 is just y, which is going to equal to 4 over 5. Right? And you are finished. Example 3. We're given 4 times 2x plus 3 equal 9 times 3x minus 5. Despite we have brackets on both sides of the equal sign, does the principle change? No, it does not. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to apply the distributive law, which states that you take the quantity on the outside of the bracket to multiply each term inside of the bracket. So how are we going to represent this? We will represent this as 4 times 2x plus 4 times 3 equal 9 times 3x plus 9 times negative 5. At this stage, you are going to simplify. So note, 4 times 2x will give us 8x, and 4 times 3 will give us 12. 9 times 3x will give us 27x, and 9 times negative 5 will give us negative 45. At this stage, what are we going to do? We are going to group the x terms on one side of the equal sign and group the constant term on the other side of the equal sign. Normally, I will go about solving this problem by grouping the x term on the left-hand side and the constant on the right. But for this particular question, we're going to do it the other way around, just to show you that it is the same concept and procedure. So we are going to group the x term on the right-hand side of the equal sign, and then the constant on the left, which means that 8x is our focus because 27x is already on the right. Now, if I want to transfer this 8x over to where 27x is, note that it is a positive 8x, so we can do the opposite, which is to subtract 8x from both sides. How would you represent this? You would represent this as 8x minus 8x plus 12 equal 27x minus 8x minus 45. At this stage, all you're going to do is to simplify. So note, 8x minus 8x is 0, and 0 plus 12 will give you 12. 27x minus 8x will give you 19x, and you put back your minus 45. At this stage, you take a close look at your equation. Now, we want to group the constant on the left-hand side, which means that negative 45 is our focus. How can we transfer this negative 45 over to where positive 12 is? We can do that by doing the opposite, which is to add 45 to both sides. How would you represent this? You would represent this as 12 plus 45 equal 19x minus 45 plus 45. At this stage, what are you going to do? You are going to simplify. And note that 12 plus 45 results in 57. And negative 45 plus 45 is 0, and 0 plus 19x will give us 19x. So at this stage, what are we going to do? Note here, we want x by itself, but this x is being multiplied by 90. So what we're going to do is to divide both sides by 90, right? How would you represent this in your book? You will represent this as 57 all over 19 is equal to 19x all over 19. At this stage, what are you going to do? You're going to simplify. So note that 57 divided by 19 will give us 3, and 19x over 19 will just leave us with x. Now, you can always rewrite your solution so that the x is on the left and the constant is on the right. So therefore, our solution is x is equal to 3. So note it doesn't change the principle. All right? To ensure that you have understand and master this case, here are some questions for you to try. Thank you for watching and do enjoy the rest of your day.